You know, sometimes we forget that Destiny 2 is technically a free-to-play game despite the $300-something I sunk into it. And every time I come up with a video with build ideas and so on and so forth, typically trying to push the boundary of the new stuff, I get people in the comments saying, hey, you know, that's cool and all, but I don't have any of that cool stuff. Can you make a build that's, you know, free to play? That'd be sweet. Well, to all those people, this one's for you. I challenge my live stream chat for the price of $20 at a Chipotle gift card to come up with a build that is great without requiring any DLC. These builds that you're going to see are my top 5 picks from the live stream that we did last Tuesday, which we do every Tuesday, by the way. I'm going to rate these builds based on their offense, defense, versatility, survivability, speed, and consistency, and then give them a rating for both flavor and viability. We're going to work our way from the bottom and work our way to the top, and we have a build for at least one Hunter, at least one Warlock, and at least one Titan. So even if you're not a main in any one of these, you're going to be able to at least find something that works for you. Let's start off from a build suggested by Zarg, which uses the Monte Carlo and the MK44 stand-asides. Now, while I do enjoy introducing my enemy to the pavement taste test challenge, this build, it's okay. It really pigeonholes you into playing an offensive Titan, which, don't get me wrong, offensive Titans are fun, but when that's the only trick that you have up your sleeve, which is to barrel down somebody with steam coming out of your nose, screaming, "I'm gonna shit your pants!" it becomes a little bit obvious what your game plan is. The nice thing about this is that shoulder charge is a great movement option now, so having that come up off a cooldown from the Monte Carlo's intrinsic exotic perks was great. However, I often find myself not really being able to take advantage of the really close range aspect of this build, and particularly that was because I was stuck in a longer range map, of which this build definitely struggles. Now again, this build in the right setting could be pretty good, but if you're looking for just a general all-rounder build, definitely not the play. Maybe if you swap this out for something like a sniper instead of the shotgun that I had, it could work. But even then, I still feel like you're a bit of a one-trick pony. You're the Juggernaut, and that works just fine, but a bit obvious and a bit predictable. We did run a lot of different stuff, such as the Echo of Domineering for reloading off of the shield bash, and our suppression grenade for doing the same, which also gave us a bit of movement boost as well, and leeching for healing. But with everything else on the table, I think that we could have done better. Offense 9, defense 3, versatility 5, survivability 7, speed 7, consistency 5, flavor B+, viability C. Now it's time for the Warlocks to see what kind of build crafting they can come up to for the free-to-play players. If I had to come up with a build that was just the most well-rounded build I could think of, this might be it. It introduces things like crowd control, as well as giving us a bit of tools into survivability, some close range options, some long range options. The only problem is that each of it requires a little bit more setup than I would like, but you're definitely never going to be caught with your pants down. This build plays with the Suros regime, any fusion rifle you'd prefer on the Void Walker, and we are running this with the Lunafactions boots. Now, if you're not familiar with using Lunafactions in PvP, it's very whelming. It's very okay. It gives you a massive increase in range, but the problem is that you have to stand in that circle, that anti-sea ape circle, in order to actually get that benefit to come out. So if you're gonna lane, that works, but if you're actually trying to use it a little bit more fluidly, you're gonna struggle. Now, don't get me wrong, the Suros regime is just this amazing amalgamation of SMG, auto rifle, and scout, but I don't really think it needs that increased range for what it's trying to do, because at longer ranges it gets a bit jumpy. The Lunafaction's unholy range increase did surprise me quite a few times, like when I mapped this dude with a rapid fire fusion from like 30 meters. All in all, it's generally solid, but you could definitely do better, but this is not a bad choice at all, which is why it's number 4 on our slot. Offense 6, defense 8, versatility 7, survivability 6, speed 6, consistency 6, flavor B, viability B. And with this, the Titans came back swinging. For our number 3 slot, I took a build suggested from one of our random subscribers. They had the idea of a Bulwark, Bastion, Mida multi-tool, and Peacekeeper combo for maximum speed. And when they said maximum speed, they meant, oh shit, boy, I'm fast as fuck! As soon as I equipped this loadout, the Eurobeat soundtrack immediately began to play in my head, as well as to the enemies who are unfortunate enough to be next to me. It's incredibly fast between the Peacekeepers and the Mida multi-tool and the Mida mini-tool speed boost, all stacking on top of one another, on top of giving us a shoulder charge, which, as we've discussed earlier, is a pretty fantastic movement option. This build is first-person shooter melee Fox. It is so fast, it actually got me into some trouble sometimes because I would massively overcommit to a gunfight and write a check with my mouth that my ass couldn't cash. It lacks a special weapon, which does sort of hurt it a little bit because you don't have any immediate shutdown tools, of which there are still plenty of great special weapons in the game despite them somewhat getting nerfed. So all things considered, I decided to give this offense 8, defense 5, versatility 5, survivability 6, speed 9, hopefully no surprises, and consistency 7, with a flavor rating of A+ and viability of A-. Like I said, the big thing holding this back is that there's not really a particular spot where this really shines. It's just all around really fast and well-rounded. And this is where the hunters came in. This build came from Mike Pierce, who says that he's also a free-to-play player, so this is something that he actually just mains on the regular. This runs the Syncopation with the new glaive, the Enigma. Now, I didn't actually know that the Enigma is free-to-play for all players, but according to him, it apparently works because you can get it within the first 2 missions of the Witch Queen campaign, which came out for free. All of this is being combined with the Gemini Jesters on Top Tree Arc Strider. Even though Arc 3.0 is just around the corner, a lot of the Arc subclasses are actually still pretty good. There's definitely areas where they struggle a little bit, but again, with everything else that's on the table right now, Arc is not bad. Gemini Jesters are basically pocket sand, but as an exotic. And when you're combining that with the stabby McJabby of the glaive, and if you have a decent aim with that glaive, you're going to succeed. In case you haven't played this tree in quite a while, Top Tree is basically, hey, my hands are rated E for everyone, because after you dodge, you get a massive increase in your melee distance, which works great because glaives work well in close quarter combat, and the damage between the two combos each other perfectly well. You can pass out naps like it's your job. Being able to rely heavily on your glaive for close quarter and mid-range fights, and then for your pulse rifle for mid to long range fights, means that you're never in a bad spot. The only reason this build is not number 1, despite me really liking glaives in terms of what they can do, is that glaives can be really inconsistent if you're not familiar with them. I've spent a lot of time with glaives, so I've gotten a little bit more used to it, but if you're a newer player, it's definitely going to feel a bit weird because of how glaives end up working and learning how to really make use of that shield, which is where glaives really shine. So, offense 7, defense 8, versatility 10, survivability 8, speed 6, consistency 4, flavor S. The beautiful combo of the Gemini Jesters on Top Tree Arc Strider is that's just asking for something right there, right? Because that's just perfectly synergistic. And viability A. Like I said, personally, I would probably end up running this one more often than even our number 1 pick, but glaives, like I mentioned, can be just a little bit inconsistent and a little bit hard to learn. But now, let's talk about the number 1 slot. Who would have thought that hunters who hadn't appeared on this list at all are actually the top 2 contenders? Because what we have here today from Colin, who ends up winning, by the way, Colin, I know you're in our Discord, hit me up on Discord. Our $20 Chipotle gift card is a Void Hunter with Monte Carlo, any adaptive fusion rifle, and the Caprice Sting. Now, Caprice Sting has taken a bit of the piss lately, as it seems like it's been power crept out of the game, but it still holds true to having one very unique utility, and that is the ability to get wall hacks when standing in your smoke. It is very difficult for me to oversell how powerful wall hacks can be. And it's funny to me that there's these types of hacks exist in the game already, because like Destiny allows us to do that. No other game is gonna give you as free access to what is effectively cheats in other games like Destiny can. The Monte Carlo, of course, gives us our melee back, something we saw earlier, and the Caprice Sting, which grants us that wall hack off of our melee on our smoke. we can keep this loop going beautifully. It's basically Where's Waldo meets Assassin's Creed, because as soon as you're able to sneak up and kill your enemies, you're able to do it again. You can keep this loop going because the Monte Carlo looping into that Capri Sting, which grants you invisibility. It's just, you maintain control of that radar like a vice grip. It is amazing how powerful this ended up being. I was a little concerned that the Fusion and the Monte Carlo would kind of like step on each other's toes, but realistically, you could run this with any secondary. I would probably end up running this with the sniper rifle, as I think that's where the wall hacks really take effect. But again, out of all the options that were suggested through my live stream chat, this one caught my interest the most. This is something that I could easily see myself taking into combat, even though I have all the DLCs, just because of how powerful it is. So, with all that pomp and circumstance out of the way, offense 7, defense 9, versatility 8, survivability 5, speed 5, consistency 7, flavor A+. I am so close to giving this an S, but the only reason I'm not is because viability S. This is a great build. If you even have the DLCs, you are doing yourself a disservice by not at least trying this out. What a great build. So much fun, so damn deadly. Let me know in the comments down below if you have a build of your own. Of course, make sure that you like and subscribe, all the YouTube BS. You guys know I appreciate you. Bless your faces, and deuces.